Have you ever had a question that you wanted to ask God? In fact, you actually prayed to God, God, this is my question, and then you wait, and nothing happens.
Why haven't I won the lotto?
That and more coming up on this episode. Today's episode is brought to you by Logos. Learn more about the world's best Bible study software at logos.com/themove. Yeah, John chapter 17 verses 17. John chapter 7 verses 15 to 36.
As always, the question is, have you read it? If you haven't, it's in the description below. We're going to put 10 minutes on the clock, and we're getting started in 3, 2, 1, go.
I love the heading of this passage. Can this be the Christ?
Can this be? I mean, listen, so far, Jesus is troubling. He is troubling. I mean, the way that he's going about things is he's taking the institution and absolutely spinning it topsy-turvy. It's almost like he's just right?
Absolutely.
And, he just, and the intent is to shake off the dross, to shake off all that which ought not to be there, to reveal the truth.
Imagine like Jesus going to a museum where there's something like the Mona Lisa.
Oh,
and he like does something, he wipes it off to reveal a deeper, more beautiful, more interesting, and like this is what it was actually all about.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, you actually got to get rid of some things that are so treasured and valuable. So you understand why people are freaking out a little bit.
Bro, that is such a good illustration, because if you were to touch the Mona Lisa, there would be some sort of sensor that would go off. Security would show up. People,
you'd be taken to jail.
I mean, everybody that's out, it's at the Louvre, right? Mona Lisa's at the Louvre in France.
Yeah.
And I mean, if they're, I believe so. Oh,
someone will
I'm just gonna, we'll have to check that, Google it. Google it, right? That's how they say it in France. Google.
Is that really?
No. So, so yeah, if he reaches out toward, the alarms go off, and people try to tackle him.
He's like, hold on.
No. As they're tackling him, his hand wipes, and he's on the floor, and he's tackling, and then everybody looks up like, right?
Yeah.
But they're in the midst of him. It's almost like he's transgressing boundaries, right?
He absolutely is transgressing boundaries. This is why they want to kill him.
It's like blasphemy, right? And I mean, it got to the point where some people are making sense of what he's saying. Like,
yeah, that sounds pretty good. Like, I think I get it.
And then there are others that are like, and then there are definitely a group that are like,
no.
Kill him.
We got to get rid of this guy.
Right? And the question is this not the man whom they seek to kill? And here he is speaking openly, and they say nothing to him?
And I love this question. Can it be that the authorities really know that this is the Christ?
And then there's this, but we know where this man comes from. And when the Christ appears, no one will know where he comes from.
I'm trying to understand what they mean by this. Do they literally mean like, poof, he's going to appear out of nowhere? What does this mean?
No, I think that it's the sort of emerging of this messianic figure that will have a vague ancestry, right? So that maybe he appears.
But is it vague in the sense because they know where he's supposed to be born according to the prophecies, right?
Yes, but even his emergence, I believe, seems to be there's going to be a sign, and then he's going to emerge. I don't think that even the idea of born was understood by the Jews in that day and age as being physically, naturally born, as much it was something behind the idea of born, in the sense of like, he will be born, he will emerge, he will like, that in Bethlehem is where Messiah will, all of a sudden, he appears in Bethlehem, he has been born.
Okay.
You understand,
I can see
right?
that. Yeah, I can see that.
Whereas opposed to Jesus, like, no, I meant literally, just gonna be born. Here I am. Or, I grew up, root of Jesse, right, like a branch, just growing. But, and don't we do that often, where we'll look, and this is probably a tangent, but where we look for deeper meaning in the text than the plain sort of thing that's right there.
Yeah.
Right? Where I found this in my life, where, again, my former life in hyper theology, it was always for the deeper theological meaning of something, when Jesus is like, hey, man, you know that thing that you don't want to be done unto you? Don't do it unto somebody else. And better yet, you know that thing that you do want to be done? Like, yeah, do it for somebody else first. That's really plain.
Yeah.
Right? And scripture works that way sometimes, right? Yeah. So they're looking for behind, like, we don't know where he's from, but we know where this man is from. I love the way Jesus responds.
You know me, and you know where I come from.
He's so matter of fact. Yeah, you know me. You know where I come from.
But I do not come of my own accord. He who has sent me is true, and him you do not know.
This dude he spins it on them. He's like, yeah, you know me. You know where I'm from, but you don't know the one who sent me.
Man. He says, I know him, for I come from him, and he sent me.
Again. He is not winning popularity contests.
No. These are the wrong words to be saying in the temple in Jerusalem, for sure.
And so he's transgressing boundaries. He's really alienating people that might want to put their hope in him. And the response is, we got to isolate this guy, limit him and his influence. So they were seeking to arrest him, but no one lays a hand on him. Because his hour had not yet come.
Yeah, I know that in other parts of the Gospels, it talks about Jesus kind of like slipping away from the crowd. Like they wanted to grab him, but then he just disappears. I wonder how God does that.
Man. We going to find out.
We're going to find out,
right?
You think it's like Jesus is doing like a super epic game of like parkour? He's like, whoa, how did they...
Off the temple, into the valley, parkour.
Like, what's that one video game that's out there? Some assassin or something like that.
I don't know. Oh, you're talking about Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, that's the one.
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, maybe that's what Jesus was like.
Nope.
Probably not.
Nope. But this idea that when the Christ appears, will he do more signs than this man has done? Right? Many people have believed on him, and it's coming. What I see is it's coming to a point, like it's peaking.
Yeah, it's
an apex.
Well, there's a division that's happening because he had this popularity wave coming through, and then we see that Jesus is kind of falling out of favor. But now we also see another group emerging, like, oh, I think I'm starting to get it. To get it.
And all this stuff is coming to a head, and Jesus is unashamedly like full revelation. This is who I am. This is who I come from. You're judging wrong. You've misunderstood the law. And he's just doubling down. And it's just it's a pretty plain revealing of this is it. This is it.
Yeah.
Right? What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? Pharisees. They hear the crowd muttering these things. Chief priest Pharisees are like, man, we got
to stop this.
We got to stop this nonsense. Go get your boy. Right?
So Jesus says, I will be with you a little longer, and then I'm going to him who sent me. You'll seek me, and you won't find me. Where I am, you cannot come.
Jews say to one another, where does this man intend to go that we will not find him? Does he intend to go to the dispersion amongst the Greeks, teach the Greeks? What does he mean by saying, you will seek me, you will find me?
You know, it's kind of funny because in one sense, they're so far off, but in another sense, they're actually not.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus is positioning himself almost as a guide in order to just lead them more and more, right? It's like he tells them this revelation, this is who I am, and then he says, where I'm going, you can't come. Naturally, the question is,
where's that?
Where?
You gonna go over there? Because I got a boat too. I could probably follow you.
Where are you going?
Yeah.
Right? And it's almost as though Jesus is, again, an invitation, right? You know what's hitting me is that I would have to, at first reading, it's almost as though Jesus is being combative, but he's being confrontive, right? Like he's confronting the people like, hey, this is it, right?
Uh-huh.
But in confronting, he's giving an invitation, like where I'm going, you can't go, but the invitation is almost conceptual, like, where will he go? It's almost like, ask that question.
That's a good question.
Right?
Yeah.
And it just...
very sophomoric in nature. Right? Like teaching through asking a question.
Yeah. But it strikes me because I have to identify with the crowd.
Every time.
I gotta identify
I mean, I
with
would
the crowd.
love to say that I would be one of the enlightened ones. You know, but then I look at like the entire nation of Israel. I'm like, yeah, I mean, those are some good questions. You kind of need water out there in the wilderness, right? I think I also would be complaining because, you know, that's kind of what I do on a daily basis, right? So it's like, it's super easy to be like, oh, if I was there, things would be different.
Yeah.
No, not really.
Nah. And what happens is that the way Jesus confronts, he confronts with the truth of who he is and then positions it in such a way as to make you like almost strive after the next move. Like, where is he going? What is he doing?
And that's such a great question, right? questions are good.
Yeah.
Not knowing is good
Yeah.
to a point.
Because if you seek to know,
You'll know. If your will is to do the will, you'll know.
you will know.
Yeah. So Jesus maybe and many times in our lives leads us to crossroads where it's unclear, because in the very fact that it is unclear causes us to ask the question, God, where are you going? Can I follow you?
Oh, man. You know what? We're done.
We're done.
We're
15
done.
seconds early. You're welcome. Hey movers, I recently got to travel to the Logos headquarters and ended up recording several tutorials on how you and I can get more from our Bible study using Logos. To see the entire playlist of videos, visit logos.com/themove and get 10% off any Logos 8 product you want. logos.com/themove.